Yeah,
I,
somebody had asked about recording, so we'll go ahead and record.
yeah, I just pasted the Academy's link in the chat box. Okay.
Okay, great. So so let me throw the question out since we have a small group. Feel free to jump in and talk anytime you want. So how many people have some type of disaster preparation already created with them, their children, even their ex-spouses, um, with regard to an emergency situation? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. So one of the things about disaster is you never know when it's going to happen, right? I mean, emergencies and situations can occur anytime. So, Mamta, I think you're in Canada, right? In Toronto? You can respond in the chat if you want. Okay. So Mamta's in Toronto, and Ravi, are you local? Okay. Oh, he's in Toronto also. Okay, so we have a couple people from Toronto, a couple in there. So what kind of disasters, Mamta and Ravi, do you anticipate or do you think might occur in Toronto with the weather that you have there, the situation, any hurricanes, any storms? And you can feel free to unmute if you want to, if it's easier for you to just talk.
We haven't heard anything yet in Toronto.
Okay. Okay. So what situations might you consider that might occur in Toronto area? Because you guys get a lot of snowstorm, right?
We do get, yes, few times.
Okay. So
Hey guys.
possibly, hi Mamta. So possibly like power outages, perhaps.
What I know is mostly they end up in mountain rescue. People go on to the hiking, or in the mountains. So that's what most of the areas in those areas, like my teammates used to tell, and the people who got trained in other areas in the snow areas, they needed mostly the mountain rescue during the snowy season.
Right. So people that go out on hikes and let's say they're just going snowshoeing, they don't really prepare well for the potential that there might be avalanche or a storm may come up, and then they get stuck out there and they require emergency assistance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So other aspects that you want to consider is windstorms that can knock out power. If power is lost, you have issues with sanitation. You have issues with water supply. Because if you think about it, if your local, how do you get your water supply currently? It's pressurized through an enormous network of pipes and delivery system that is maintained at the city level or the county level or the province level and sent to your home. Well, what if that water is no longer available? What if you can't get out to the stores to buy anything? What if there's a virus and everybody runs to the store and buys up all the supplies? Because one of the things that's happened over the many years as the world has become smaller through technology and through infrastructure delivery is the fact that they now do what's called just-in-time delivery. In other words, the stores anticipate the volume sales in the next 1 or 2 days and then set up deliveries on a recurring basis. And what happens is that eliminates the need to store huge amounts within a store, which is a very costly proposition on the retail front. They can store it in a warehouse and just get it delivered very quickly, right? So water bottles. If you're living in a home, how do you turn off the gas if you have an earthquake? Like in Bay Area, where Krishna and I are, we've already had 2 earthquakes in the last 14 days. They have not been super major ones where there's been damage and such, but any shaking of the ground is a potential for breakage of pipes, whether it be gas pipes, whether it be water supply pipes, whether it be your sewer pipes, any sort of delivery system or system that's working in your home, right? So that's one thing that you have to consider. Also in Bay Area, a lot of people don't think about is that we're very susceptible to flooding. If we get heavy rains, we have a lot of creeks and rivers that get blocked up due to branches that come down during winter, leaves that fall in, they plug up the system, and that can cause flooding and damage, right? It not necessarily will cause you to have to vacate the house or interrupt delivery systems like groceries and necessary items, but it has the potential to cause a lot of havoc and a lot of damage, right? Has anybody been in a disaster of a large scale? So Mamta and Ravi, were you guys affected by the East Coast outages that occurred a couple years ago? Storm outages. I know the Eastern Seaboard of you.
No, I came to Toronto about 8 months before only, so luckily not. I was in Bay Area, and yeah, Prov, I know. I would really like you to touch on how to be prepared in the earthquake, because family is still in Bay Area.
Okay. Yeah. So earthquake is a very scary thing for a lot of people because you don't know it's going to happen, right? You don't get advance warning. You don't get like in the Atlantic Ocean, you get a storm brewing and becomes a tropical storm, then a hurricane, and you actually get advance notice. In an earthquake situation, you don't. I've lived through several earthquakes. I've been in the Bay Area since 1980. And I've lived through a couple really large earthquakes. One, which was in, I think, 89. I was actually looking out the window and I had a view, and you could actually see the rolling hills, like the entire earth you could see moving up and down, like without, I mean, it was like a movie, you see it in a movie, like, this earthquake happening and the waves, it was like ocean water, just waves coming across land, right? Causes a lot of damage, causes a lot of things. So each disaster is unique. So you need to think about where you are and what potential issues you might face. And now we face even more threats from the sense of cyber attacks and attacks to our infrastructure. So let me talk really quickly about earthquakes, right? And how that impacts people. And then, you guys can share experiences on other things as well. Earthquakes, you have to think about several things. One is you don't know where you're going to be when that earthquake hits. And you have, right now, a lot of people are still working from home, but as you're starting going back to work, what is every office that I've seen, every big company has emergency operations systems and plans, and they put those in place, and they do drills and such for emergencies, whether it be fire or whether it be and what do you do during an earthquake? Do you run outside? Do you get under the table? You go in the doorway? All those types of things. And so the common advice is you don't run outside. And the reason is mainly because of if you run outside in a business environment, let's say San Francisco, you have shattering glass that may fall on you. You have buildings all around you. In where I live, if you're able to see behind me, I live on 2 acres. So a lot of times it's actually easier for me to just go outside and get away from any trees or buildings where it's open and you're safe. So a lot of the office plans will be geared around that type of thing. Or if there's a fire, they have you run out to the parking lot. So, and they'll have a designated place in the parking lot area. But one thing I want to talk more about is not necessarily the work aspect. And Krishna, you can jump in if you want to discuss some of the work piece. But one of the things I want to talk about is at home. So you have family at home. You have kids in school. You have your spouse that may be, or your partner that may be at work, you know, or they may be traveling, or they might be going wine tasting, or whatever the situation, right? You're not necessarily in the same place. Well, what if the communication systems are down? What if you can't talk to them? What if they can't get a hold of you? What if the internet's down? I mean, we put a lot of reliance on these infrastructure items that are very susceptible. So having a plan in place that says, hey, if there is a disaster or an emergency, you know, we're going to try to contact such and such person that's outside the area, and let them know that we're okay, so that you can basically have a single point of contact, or they touch base with you and contact you to make sure that you're okay, right? Also a meetup plan. Where are you going to meet? And I'm probably jumping way ahead of this presentation. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm like way ahead. Anyway, so I'll put a link to this presentation. You guys can read through it. But also, why do you need to have a plan? So of people meeting is because you don't know if you can contact them, right? So if you have a designated place that's away, that's safe, that you can get to in case of emergency, it allows you to have a meeting point, just like they do in office environments. Right. So anybody that's else, like I've been in a couple emergency situations and disaster. I ran the emergency operations center with the telecom business back in the 90s. I've worked at the emergency operations center out of Sacramento. And I have some background there. So let me put out their questions, because I think this will go much better. Versus me just doing all the talking. Is what questions do you guys have? Like, what is it on emergency preparation that, you know, you guys want to ask questions about or want to know more about?
So, Prov, Ismam, the thoughts which goes in my mind is, right, can I have a kind of a checklist, right? If it's an earthquake, if it's a water flood, right? And if we are living in the house, right? What are the basic things people should know, right? How to turn off the gas, how to turn off the water pipe, how to turn off blah, 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 which I can share with ex-partners or family. If this thing happens, do this, or don't touch this. If it's fire, don't touch this, right? If it's water flood too. So that may help, right? Because every situation is different, right? And sometimes people don't know what to touch and what not to touch, right?
Yeah. So I don't know the gas systems that you guys have in Canada, right?
Don't worry about Canada. I'm asking about Bay Area.
But, okay, so Bay Area. So if you look at my screen right now, and this is a big one, because, you know, after a disaster, fire is like the #1 thing that can cause a lot of problems. So right here is a PDF on how to turn off your gas. And if anybody doesn't know how to do it, you just need a crescent wrench. It's called a crescent wrench. You can see the picture on the right, and it tells you the direction that the flat piece will tell you whether it's off or on. Okay. Now, one thing you notice about a crescent wrench, and I haven't seen this on a lot of tools, is there's a hole on the end of it. Okay. So the advice that I always give, and that people that are in emergency preparedness will often give is you take a string and tie it to the end of a crescent wrench and actually attach it to your gas meter. Because the last thing you want to be doing is running around looking for a crescent wrench when you need to turn off the gas in an emergency, right? Maybe your garage is collapsed. You can't get to your tools. This way, if you have it attached to the gas meter, you can actually just turn it on. Yeah.
So, Prov, I just
this
want
is
to
a
add something here about the gas meter, especially.
sure.
Most of the houses have the gas meter outside, not inside the house. The reason is in case of emergency, if the family members are in some kind of like situation, the fire department can come and shut it down from outside. A lot of noise is coming. Okay. Yeah, so very important to locate your gas meter, your water, like how to switch out the water. That's the prepared part of the preparedness. Okay, you need to locate and also do the exercise. Another thing is if you have any furnace, like furnace. Okay, uh, very important thing is to shut down the outside. In other case also, like sometimes there are some emergency cases where you need to locate your gas furnace also, okay, to shut it down. So all these things you need to know. Your electrical what do you call the box, okay, and these four things you need to know the locations and need to do a drill of shutting it down properly. Okay, another thing is most of the times in case of earthquake and flooding, okay, there can be some electrical issues. Okay, so you need to make sure that nobody like touch the water, stay away from the water, and need to know where is the electrical box, circuit box outside, shut it down. Okay, you need to know all these four things, like very important. Yeah, go ahead.
Krishna,
And,
I
and
want to add something in it. These meters, in the old houses, you will find these meters inside the house. But in a new houses, the meters are outside. So definitely you need to identify where they are located
Yeah,
and
it depends upon the new code, or like it depends upon the city code. Mostly the code for these things are uniform across the country. There can be variations, like from state to state, but these are general codes. So these are all very much uniform, even across the United States and Canada. But it doesn't make, like, it's not bad to go and find out where your meters are located. That's
no, Krishna, what I'm trying to say is that old houses have the meters inside. They were never outside.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's a kind of thumb rule,
Mhm.
rule of the thumb. And the other thing is the new houses now the codes are changed. The compulsory all the meters should be outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
yeah, that's
Basically,
very
you're
true,
right.
Ravi.
You need to identify where the meters are and how to shut them out.
Yeah, so irrespective whether it's a new home or old
Correct,
home,
correct.
inside or outside, you
Yeah,
need to do the exercise. That's called preparedness. That's what
correct,
Prov
correct.
is trying to say. It's more about the preparedness. Locate these things and try to like Prov said, use or keep the tools very close to those meters. Like if it is a sometimes they may use the lock and key to like close the meter box, like in the electrical box. Some people do that. So you need to know like where the lock and key and all these things. Otherwise, like you will be scrambling for the last minute. Like that's even more worse. Actually, you don't know where you keep, and every one of your family members should know these things. Everyone, including your kids.
Krishna, one more thing. What happened is that if you, I mean, in a say few years, if you haven't turned off the meter, right? What happened is this meter, this thing get jammed, and it's like sometime it get break also. So my suggestion is either any disaster situation is there or not, but every 6 months the person should turn that thing on and off.
Yeah. That's part of the preparedness. Okay, that's part.
Yeah.
So let's. So it's a very important thing though. If you turn it off and you turn it back on, there are several things that you need to relight in your house. your water heater is typically gas. And so you need to make sure that the pilot light gets relit. You need to make sure that your furnace pilot light gets relit. Any wall gas heaters that have a pilot light would need to get relit. A lot of the gas providers will actually come and relight the furnaces and devices for you if you call them. So if you plan to shut it off for a test, you can arrange in advance that you can call these providers and they will actually come out to do a test. And they will also come out and do a free gas leak test as well. And those are things that nobody usually takes advantage, but they're available to you because they want to make sure everything is safe as well. So keep in mind that if you do turn off the gas, you want to make sure that you go through and relight all the furnaces. If you don't know how to do that, you can try to get it.
Now, other thing is I want to add in is that when you smell like a rotten egg, that means there is a gas leak. And definitely that's a time you have to call them and ask them to check for the leakage. So that's a indication of the gas leak.
Yeah, a couple of things, Ravi. Okay, most of us neglect. You need to have a periodical,
So make sure you didn't leave something
preparedness.
on there first, and then go check. I'm sorry, Krishna, go ahead.
No, that's part of the preparedness. Like, you need to, like, every 6 months, you need to continue, check all these lines. And also, PG&D will come and help you to do the, if you want to do the preparedness exercise, they will come and, either they can guide and or they can help you. They will walk you through the pipes, and they will, Prov mentioned, they'll do the checks of the leak for any leaks, and they will educate you also. They will come out and show you how to on and off the gas meter in case of all those things. They will help.
Right.
Only thing is we need to ask.
Discuss are all related to when an event occurs, right? So you in advance, you want to do some preparation about what's the possibility, where's your meeting place, if you're out of touch, how do you contact? That's all the advanced preparation. If a disaster or an event occurs, you want to be able to turn off your electricity, turn off your water, turn off your gas. The main services that can cause additional damage or fire to your building. But let's talk about also.
Prov, I want to add one more thing, okay? Not only during the emergencies, if you are leaving your home for long durations, okay? For example, if you are going to India, like some place for 2-3 months, make sure that you shut down your water. There are severe damages of the flood, water leakage to the entire home when you are not there, and gas leakage can happen. Okay, electricity is okay, mostly it's okay, but I think you need to shut down your gas as well as the water if you are leaving the home for prolonged vacations or very, very important.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. And also, you want to also, if you're not doing that and you have someone that's regularly coming checking on your house, that they know how to turn off these items in case there is something that happens and where those things are located, right? So either you're turning it off before you leave, or if you have someone checking on your house, they know how to also do this activity, right? So let's talk about a disaster. So there's many different types of disasters, whether it be and structure changes, or power outages, or wind storms, or snowstorms, or water damage and flooding. Then comes the piece of what do you need if you can't get water, can't get food, can't get things. So you want to think about, okay, if I have a camping stove, you go camping and you have a camping stove. Okay, do I have 1 or 2 bottles of propane? And I'm not talking about the small bottles that only last 1 or 2 days. I'm talking about like a 20-pound or, you know, propane container that you can use. You know, part of what I do is I store on my property 550 gallons of water that's sealed and treated. And the way you treat it is using bleach. And then when you want to use it, what happens is you just pour it out, let it aerate. The bleach will go back into the atmosphere, it'll come out of the water, and then you can drink the water. For other preparation, if there's a disaster and I need to be able to cook or I need to be able to run anything, I also have camping stoves. I have propane. I have, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a grill. I have a, you know, trailer, camper that's out there. You know, there's different additional things that you can have that allow you to cook and to eat, even if you don't have gas, even if you don't have electricity, even if you don't have water. You want to make sure those things are covered. Then you need to think about how long a disaster might occur. If a disaster occurs, you know, where is going to be the damage in your house most likely going to happen, right? So you want to think about that. You want to store food and rotate food that you normally eat. The last thing you want to do is in a disaster, and a lot of people do this, which is actually pretty funny, is they'll buy food that they never eat. I mean, you know, beans or some sort of food that they don't eat on a regular basis, and they never eat, and they'll store that. I mean, why would you store red wheat if you're never going to have that, right? If you're never going to prepare that for yourself on a regular basis. So whatever food you have, you want to actually do the rotation, and it's very simple. You go to Costco. Instead of buying your normal amount, you buy just a little bit more. So you know, and every time you start rotating it. So you put the newer stuff in the back, the older stuff. Last thing you want is actually to run out. So you want to have a constant supply that you're going on a monthly basis, or, you know, however you go to Costco, buy those things, store them, and just do a rotation. So everything, you know, it's kind of like normal. You're eating the things you normally eat. You're going to have some challenges when it comes to fresh food or fresh vegetables. So ways around that is to have some canned items that will at least give you some of that. But, you know, canned items are, a lot of people don't like because they don't have the same taste. But here we're talking about survival, and we're talking about being able to make things that you would normally eat so that your survival becomes more comfortable, right? How many people here, and just speak up.
Yeah, can I add something, like, you know, with respect to Indian taste, but the food, I found it, poha and the puffed rice, they don't spoil, and you can rotate that like in every 6 months. Buy it like in like puffed, because I know you can simply add with milk and eat poha, and like, you know, first a temporary purpose or temporary basis. Poha and puffed rice, they generally don't spoil. They have shelf life of 6 months. Like Prov mentioned, like, you know, you can rotate, like, you know, you can every 6 months you can replace those things. That's also like, you know, much easier, and they appeals to our palate. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, Costco, speaking of milk, Costco has small bottles of whole milk that's pasteurized that does not require refrigeration. So that's also a good one to store if you're a big milk drinker as well. Yeah, Mamta, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that COVID taught few things, right? When everything was going out of shelf. In food storage for Indian cooking is really easy because many of our things have long life shelf, like your pulses, your rice, you know, if you can store rice and pulses, you should be able
Right.
to survive quite a few time. Yeah. So like
Right.
at least
And
butter,
don't forget the
rice,
water that you need for the rice. Yeah. And don't
exactly.
forget the water that you need for the rice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to think about several things. Like COVID actually was a big teacher for a lot of people because there was a run on toilet paper, there was a run on paper towels, there was a run on bleach and cleaning supplies, and there was a run on meat. There was a run on just many different aspects of things, right? So,
yeah. Prov, I also
think
want
about
to
those
add
things.
one thing, like when you are thinking about it, think something which for activities too, right? Usually we just think in the one direction, right? COVID taught, like when you are already in this disaster situation, you cannot go out, and you have small kids or even the teenage kids sitting at the home, they are already getting frustrated. It will always good to
Right.
have some kind of a box, activity box there, just keep it out there so that if that things happen, they can keep them indulged, right? I know I bought
Right.
a whole set of new video games and a whole set of other things, which my daughter is not allowed to touch right now. But God forbid, if
Yeah.
something happens, that's there, right? Because mental health also
Right.
becomes so important, especially in the case of kids.
Right. So one of the things that even in the Bay Area, Mamta, I know you're in the East Coast, but even in the Bay Area, you want to think about how are you going to heat,
Yep.
stay warm. Okay. Whether it be extra blankets, and that's how you're going to keep warm, or all gather into a room where you just heat that one room, and how are you going to heat that room?
I recommend to always have a tent. Okay, it can be used for your regular camping, or in case if your entire area is completely collapsed. Most of the time, the emergency federal rescue teams, they will come and provide. But in case if they can't reach, still having your own tent and sleeping bags, there are sleeping bags which can be resist up to -3 to -20 degrees available. They will be always very handy.
Yep. And another thing which I learned is, which I want to share is, uh, always have a small sticky note on your fridge with all your emergency contact numbers, including your family, because now everything is in your mobile. And surprisingly, you will know that you forgot your father's number because you just, and then if there is no electricity and if you are not able to charge your mobile and you wanted to call them, at least you have the numbers handwritten somewhere so that you are able to contact them, right? Or your emergency contact numbers is very, very important. Have a small pouch of your important documents, right? If you are keeping those documents at home, so that in case you have to do the evacuation, you can just pick it up, right? You don't have a time to search for all that.
For the important forms, I recommend you to put in the bank locker. Okay, that's always the couple of reasons. One is most of the lockers are fireproof and waterproof. Even in the case of disaster, if you feel like you have very, very important documents, it won't cost much. Most of the banks might give free. So if you maintain a certain relationship with the banks or a financial institution, or otherwise also it's better to take a locker and put important documents there. I don't recommend you to keep, unless otherwise you have a safe which is fireproof.
Documents. You should scan all those and put them on a flash drive. And so if you put them on a flash drive, I sent a link in the chat to this emergency preparedness. This is the Alameda County government website. I'm affiliated with this through the community emergency response team. They have a link here on the survival flash drive, and here are things for you to consider flash drive so that you will have those things available, right? And there's things in here that you may not even think of, like for business records, maybe you need to have that in there. Things that you don't want to lose, family portraits and things that are very valuable and can't be replaced, and regularly keep it up to safe, and then store it in a safe location. So this would be something that, like Krishna was saying, maybe you store in a bank safe deposit box, or have two versions. One is bank safe deposit box, one in what I call a go bag. A go bag is a bag that's by your door or easy to grab that has, you know, some important things for you that, like, if you just need to get out of the house, you grab it and get out. And it has like some change of clothes. It has this document thing. It has, you know, other items that you may want to consider having available, whether it be a small portable radio, batteries, solar charger for your cell phone, you know, different things like that. So I crossed the Atlantic Ocean 3 years ago on a sailboat, and you have to actually be fully self-sustained. So, I mean, you're out there in the middle of the ocean. There's nobody around you for miles. You know, you have to be fully self-contained. And in that process, you know, one of the things that, you know, we had was a satellite phone. We had what's called a PLB, which is a personal locator beacon. It's monitored both on land and offshore. If you go hiking into remote areas, you should definitely have a PLB. They're a couple $100, but it's, you know, if you activate it, it will save your life. You're instead of days and days of search, you're talking about hours for someone to come and, you know, help you. I carry a BL. When I used to motorcycle ride, I carried a PLB with me, because if I got separated from the motorcycle or went off a cliff off of Highway 49 in the Gold Country or whatever, it's on my body and I can activate it and the emergency crews can get to you. So you want to think about these things, like, you know, even if you go up skiing to the snow for the weekend, what if you get caught in a snowstorm? You're stuck in the car. Have you thought about, what do you need? You need food, you need water, you need heat. How are you going to sustain yourself if you run out of gas? You're stuck in the storm, your car breaks down. There's so many things. So I highly recommend the PLB, because it's the fastest way for emergency services to locate you. Okay. And you know, I'm giving from my experience. There's disaster planning worksheets that are on this site as well, that you can go through. And I'm sorry, because I'm streaming it and recording it, a little slow.
About the encrypted drive, sorry, about the flash drive, because it has all your personal and say critical information, you may want to consider encrypted it so that others cannot, like, you know, I mean, just in case of somebody catch hold of your drive, you don't lose your information. And also the danger is, like, you know, for some reason, if you are disabled and if somebody want to, like, access that information, that will be a problem. So it depends, like, you know, you can always hand over that to your relative or someone in encrypted drive, so that, like, you know, you can go back and you can decrypt it, like, and you can use it. But in the bank locker, you can put the normal one without encryption, because nobody can access it other than the bank and yourself. But if you want to give the copy to someone else, make sure that you encrypt it.
Right, and also, you know, it on the one that gets encrypted, you know, Krishna, one thing that you may want to do is have a piece of paper along with it, with names and contact numbers of people that would be able to decrypt it. So if it's, you know, if you have your medical files on there and you're not able to, you know, decrypt it for a doctor or whatever, you know, you can, they can contact those people to get assistance. Also, if you have if you have allergies and things like that, there's a medical bracelet that you should obtain that can store that information as well. About, you know, the last thing you want to do is end up in the hospital and, you know, you're allergic to penicillin and they give you penicillin, right? So things like
I think most of the phones have that medical record. You can load there. Most of the phones, like, I think iPhone comes with that. I'm not sure about Android. It has a default your medical record. You can load everything there.
Yeah. And
so be
Prov,
careful about being too reliant on technology, right? Don't be too reliant on the technology and assume that people know how to access that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry,
want to
Mamta,
add
go
one
ahead.
thing. Yeah, I want to add one thing. I don't know if it's a disaster planning or not, but especially for the like people like us who are like either single parents, and I strongly recommend to have your e-state bill ready. This is something which we always push forward thinking, but like when I came to Canada, the first thought came to my mind: if something happens to me, no one knows where all my assets are, how they are going to get transferred to my daughter, right? So it's very
Right.
important to get your e-state bill if you are a single parent, because you don't
Oh,
have that luxury that you are with a partner who knows each and everything, right? In most of the cases, your minor child will be your beneficiary, right? So you have to get that done and make sure that you put a guardian there and inform them that this is where it is. This is something comes
So I
with
do,
the, go ahead.
And
yeah.
also,
So I
Mamata,
do
important thing
definitely
is
agree. Mamta, I do agree that this is something that should be part of your disaster plan, because disaster is not just, you know, an event that occurs, but, you know, a death of a primary earner is, I consider that a disaster as well. And, you know, how the family gets taken care of, life insurance policies and things like that, you know, kids are not going to know about, you're not going to tell them about, right? And you need to make sure that it can be done. And actually, living trusts and such are not that expensive to put together. And also your bank accounts, a lot of them you can do what's called a transfer on death. It's called a TOD, where you can actually set your beneficiary and it will bypass any probate or will stuff that's associated with it. So that's another thing that you could do.
Yeah.
That's a very
not
good
only
point. Thank
for
you,
single parents. There are cases like I'm living in the Bay Area for quite a long time. I have seen the cases where both parents met with accidents, got disabled, and they like the kids are very young. They have no idea what the parents plan. So if they don't have the will, it has to go through probate, and the kids are not in a position to handle all those things. And again, it's very expensive. A lot of times it's always better to have the copies of estate and will. Maybe if you have for example, if your father or your brother or somebody whom you think you can trust, they can give a copy to them also, just in case. It depends upon your relationship. Always leave the copy in the bank, one copy, photocopy, and another one give it to your, either you can give it to your friend or someone whom you trust, they can execute on your behalf, immediately, at least take it to the court. And you need to give them the direction. It not only handing over them, you need to direct, in case happens, go to the county and go to the court and file them, so that it will not go to the probate.
Exactly.
Right.
And these are very
And
legally bound,
also your
right?
attorney information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you go give it to the friend, these are very legally bound. They cannot take out your money. The money
Exactly.
will go to the beneficiary. You just need a person who will execute it, right? So that's all it is needed.
Now,
So
the only reason we want to hand over to some our close relatives is it will happen in timely fashion. For example, if we are not there, the kids needs finance. Mostly the kids need some finance, correct? They go school or something. And if they are not aware what the parents left to them, it might end up in county records. If they won't respond until there is a period, either 5 years or something. If the banks don't claim those assets, then only they will make a public announcement. It's go through a lot of process, and mostly your money might not be useful in time for the kids. So if you inform your close friend or a relative, immediately of course there will be grieving period, but at the same time common sense kicks in and they say hey, kids need to be taken care. Okay, so they will do that. You need to direct them, you need to direct them also, what you can leave a note, what they have to do, go to this place, this is my attorney name, this is Santa Clara County. You can leave as much information as possible in in an opening letter or some page. It will make much easier for them. Otherwise, sometimes what happens, the friends also can delay, what, I will follow up later, instead of that, put that information so that they can, it will be easy for them to follow.
Agree. And one more point, just don't think about money. If you have a minor, please put a guardian there, right? It depends upon your relationship with your exes, right? But if you are a custodial parent, right, you must declare who is going to take care of your kid if something happens to you.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
comes like in a little bit a trust area also, like the foundation of a trust and other things. There is two parts. One is physical custody. Second thing is like monetary things. So those two are I mean, definitely they need to be covered, but that can be a different topic. Yeah, definitely they need to be covered. That you are correct. Like somebody has to take care of those. Yeah.
Yeah, Krishna, I
Yeah.
have seen the cases where like the exes are not in at all communication. Something happens to one single parent, and like they don't know where to go, right? Unless there are other something. So yeah, it's very important. I think it depends upon case by case, depending upon how was the age of your kid, right?
Yeah, so that's why it's called
Right.
preparedness. Correct. You need to do this exercise with your friends or family or whomever you trust. Like don't shy off. Show them, okay, this is what my papers are here. This is what I'm expecting you to do. Make sure that they are comfortable with. Otherwise, what happens is your kid will has to go through a lot of things. Make sure that they're comfortable and they're responsible. Okay, to to do whatever you are expecting them to do. Like they can be of any help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you want to make sure the lawyer information is there. You want to make sure your divorce stuff is there. You want to make sure that your assets are covered. And Krishna, you said something about unclaimed property, and the unclaimed property is done by the state. And so they have a website. You can actually go, and you'll be surprised what ends up there. So like if you move from one place and you overpaid your PG&E bill, that money gets sent to the state and it sits there, and you have to claim it. And so I do suggest everybody go online to wherever state they've lived and see if there's any unclaimed money. I actually have some unclaimed money sitting with the state, which I haven't done anything about, which, now that I think about it, I keep forgetting. I need to do that. So on the link I sent out in the chat, one of the items, support things, is also a document that you can fill out, and it's a worksheet that you put all your family information, your children information, from a school perspective, who you've authorized to pick up your kids from school, right? Because if there's an emergency, you may not be able to go there and pick them up. So you need to make sure that there's something in place that you can have a friend or a relative pick up your child. Doctor information, neighbors. Then it goes into, your emergency supplies. What do you need? And this is more of a bare minimum. It's more like a 3-day thing. Then, of course, the more, the better, right?
Yeah. One more important
so,
thing. One more important thing. In case of if you have kids and the kids are in the school, please don't rush to the school. Don't rush, because that create, like in case of emergency, it can create a lot of blockages. Every school is prepared and they do the regular every quarterly drills they do. Okay, they are safe and you cannot do anything more than what they can do. In the case of emergency, they have closely associated with the county and fire departments, search and rescue teams. They will immediately go to the schools for the area. Don't rush to the schools. Wait for the instructions. Wait for the instructions and follow the instructions from generally the schools communicate with you through the phone and other public communication systems. So wait for those instructions and follow the rules. Plus, don't rush everyone to the school.
yeah, that's a good point, Krishna. And Mamta, I muted you. We were getting some background noise. Just unmute whenever you need to. You want to say something. Yeah, that's a very good point, Krishna. So this maintenance plan there, I could read it all to you, but I'm sure you guys can print this out, adapt it to your needs. The resources are there. And let's see, anything major here. You do also want to go through a maintenance plan where you check things on a regular basis. This is not a one-time event, right? This is constantly preparing and constantly making sure you have supplies available. And your house, if there's fire, you want to make sure that, you know, you trim branches back. You don't want them near the house. You know, have the garden hoses already connected just in case. What else? Oh, escape plan. So one of the things is if you have a fire in your house, you want to sit your kids down and talk about, okay, if you have a fire in the front of your house, what's your escape route? If you have a fire in the kitchen, what's your escape route? In the bedroom, if there's a fire, how do you get out? If you're on a second story, how are you going to get down from that second story? You know, a lot of times we put our kids upstairs in the second story, but how are they going to get out? They go out the window, but then how are they going to get down? So, you know, they have emergency ladders that attach to the windowsill that can be just quick thrown down and they can climb down. So you want to think about those things. It doesn't cost that much to prepare it, and you know, it can very easily be the matter of life and death. The other thing is, in my house, I have 5 fire extinguishers. I have one in the kitchen. I have one for a lot of different places in the house, definitely near the fireplace. And so the fire extinguishers are good to have, and you want to have a general purpose one, but you need to understand something that's very important, is that if the fire is larger than, let's say, a small trash can, that fire extinguisher is not going to do the job. There is just not enough capacity within that fire extinguisher to put it out. So if you have a large scale fire, the fire extinguisher is not going to put out the bigger fire, okay? So if you've already gotten, you know, the stove's on fire and the cabinets are starting to burn, that small fire extinguisher is not going to do the job. Your point and your goal at that point is to get your family out of the house safely, okay? We've done drills with the Alameda County fire, and they actually have us do drills putting out fires, and you'll be surprised, you know, that small fire extinguisher is not going to go as far as you think it's going to go, okay? So one of the reasons why I have 5 in the house, because if it's slightly larger, at least I have another one to go after it. But the reality is you got to get out of the house, and you know, there's nothing physical or material that is worth risking your life for. Okay.
And they need to be replaced periodically, and they have the expiry date. Okay. And don't forget that, just don't buy it and leave it in the corner. Like, I think it has 2 years. I didn't remember exactly. Like, you need to replace periodically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think each one's a little bit different, Krishna. You just
Yeah.
have to look at the dates, and a lot of them will have a gauge on there that will tell you whether they're still good or not, because the
And
pressure
one
will
more
drop
thing.
in them.
One more thing. I highly recommend everybody get trained CPR and first aid. Very, very important. And personally, I was able to rescue at least 5 lives. Okay, with the CPR, 5 lives I was able to save so far. Okay, and it's very cheap, very, very useful. Like, you know, and the difference between life and death is 30 seconds to 1 minute. Okay, and it takes 2.5 minutes for the fire team, like, you know, the rescue team, like, you know, the medical team to come. And that is the critical time for 2 reasons. One is you can save the life, and even if you even not only that, if you there will be a stroke in the head. If you don't do the CPR, the person might be alive, but he can come like, you know, remain disabled if that don't happen. So very, very important. It's very easy, and once you get the CPR training, it's valid for 2 years. And it costs you $35 or $40, and most of the corporate companies they do offer, and some of the counties also, I think Alameda County do it for free. Santa Clara you need to pay like $25 or something, but it's totally worth to get trained CPR and first aid.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Krishna. those basic things can make a big difference, because a lot of people aren't trained, and if more people are trained, then there'll be more lives saved, right? Okay, this next document that they have here is a preparedness calendar. So it's so that you don't, the burden of going and doing everything at one time can be difficult. It's kind of broken it down into steps of priority. Like water is the #1 priority, right? There's this thing that you can go 3 minutes without air. You can go 3 days without water, 3 months without food. Okay. I know for us, I don't know if I can go 3 months without food, but that's kind of the breakdown that they go. So, water is one of the first things that you want to store. Then start building up your supplies if you don't have. And I would guess that a lot of these things you guys already have around the house, especially if you've gone camping, and then things like that. So also, your valuables, you have insurance on your home. You really want to go through and videotape everything you have. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I am actually in the middle of a process with my insurance company because of a loss, and you don't know how many DVDs you have. You don't know how many spoons and dishes and things like that you have, and you have to try and estimate it out. And the insurance companies can make it very difficult for you. So really go through, videotape what you have, pictures that you have. If you don't have backups digitally, you can take pictures and scan them. I know, like for my grandfather's pictures, some of them are so old there's no digital. I actually went a few years back and had them all scanned in, so that you don't lose that stuff, because those things are not replaceable, right? So as you go through this, I would put first aid supplies a little bit further up, especially as we have kids. I know whenever I would do an activity with my son, I always had a small first aid kit in my backpack. They tend to always get hurt, especially boys. I don't know what that's all about. So this is a good list to go through, okay? What other questions you guys have? I mean, I pretty much covered a lot of stuff here, and more of a higher level, and you can kind of delve into more detail. Is there specific questions, Mamta or Ravi or Preeti, that you have that you're seeking answers to, or Jay?
We have not talked about snow disasters, but I don't expect Bay Area expert to tell about Toronto snow disasters. So maybe we will look for that information and share next time.
So yeah, we touched on it a little bit. I think Krishna put up a good point about having a tent. I think that if you have a snow disaster, one of the main things that you have as an issue is keeping warm. I think that's your #1 challenge. If you have no electricity and no gas, how are you going to keep warm, right? There is a small propane heater that is, I forgot what the term is, but it's called the Mr. Buddy, and it's a propane heater that you're actually able to use inside of a tent. It doesn't burn through the oxygen like you would normally expect. It's something worth considering if you have a situation where you have no power, no gas, no heating capability. It's a small portable device.
I want to interrupt you here. In the buildings, they don't allow anything like that. You can't keep anything like this.
Well, so here's the thing. If you have an emergency situation, it's life and death, you're going to freeze to death or not, I don't think you're going to really have to worry about whether they allow you or not, right?
No, but the thing is, you have to keep in a house, in a building, right? In an apartment, which it's as per the condo is doesn't fall under their regulations. So you can.
Oh, you're talking about the propane.
The
propane
problem
itself.
The problem is these things can blast anytime. I don't say that it happen all the time, but there is always possibility. So that's the reason they
Yeah, you're
don't
talking about the propane. Yeah, you're talking about the propane and the potential for it to.
any kind of
So
cylinder
most
with
apartments will.
compressed gas.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
true. It's a
for
safety
the
thing.
snow rescue, I think Mamata, it's better to contact your local
Yeah.
emergency repair team. Especially the rescue in the snow areas is quite different from plains and valleys like in Bay Area, and it's more riskier in one way or other. Okay, like in more riskier, more tougher, and always the kind of the detector Prov mentioned, if you can get one thing and keep it on ready, like in case if you get buried under the snow, in the avalanche or something. I don't know, most of the cities don't have any problem, the avalanches don't hit you guys, but if you are staying away from the plains, okay, that might be an issue.
Oh, yeah. I raised that just as a kind of a cracking the joke. I did. So, but this is really a great session, right? So, yeah. Bro,
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
wanted to take your permission. Can we share, because this is a lot of good information, can we share this information like outside our group? Like I really wanted to share this information with my family.
Yeah, I don't think we've discussed anything personal, specific and so I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I did put a couple links out. Yeah, by all means, and I am recording this, so it will be up somewhere. I don't know where.
Maybe we can ask others also
recording
if they
to the
have
cloud.
any objection, the participants, Ravi, Jay, and Preeti. You guys have any objection to share this with
No, I'm
others?
okay. I'm okay, Krishna.
No,
This is
fine.
good stuff to share. I mean, everyone should know. We should not have a copyright on this.
Preeti, you're okay with that, Preeti?
Yes, I'm okay. I was driving. Sorry, I was just being a passive.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we have the consent of everyone so that it will not be a problem. Yeah. Just don't tell that who is this and who is that.
But I've
Don't
been
share the information about the people who are there.
listening.
The
It's a
participants.
loaded information. I think it's a very useful. Right.
Yeah.
I also wanted to touch upon a couple of topics. I was just listening to it while driving, so I could not really actively participate. But one topic, what Mamta was talking about, is definitely adding, your name with the will and estate planning. Definitely, you need to have, a lot of things with the banker, a good relationship with the banker, to kind of know what are the next steps in case of any kind of death or any kind of mishaps in life. That is one thing. And secondly, for driving, we have, especially as women, we not very good in handling the cars and stuff with the winters in Canada. So it's very important to have some kind of CAA membership. You have a flat tire or extreme weather conditions you're driving, and you're in situations which is very, very common in Canada because we have almost 7 months of snow out here.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So compulsory, we need to have a CAA membership. So we know that we are kind of secured in that way while on the wheels. That's one thing.
Yeah. You raised a good point,
have,
Preeti. When especially that's a good thing, especially in the cold areas. Please keep some warm clothing and blanket, and you need to have a torch. In the especially when we go to Lake Tahoe, these things happen a few times to us. We stuck on the road, and especially if you're with the kids, it's going to be very cold.
Right.
And make sure that you take enough warm blankets and maybe some
a
clothing.
very common thing what happens is a flat tire, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and we kind of don't know how to react. How long is it going to take? Who do we call? We're in situations like that all the time. So that's absolute priority to get this membership
Krishna and Preeti,
going.
I mean, if you can buy is a kind of some metal kind of aluminum sheet or something. You can find it in a Dollarama. You can find it anywhere. Actually, if when you join the CPR course, they tell you that this is the one you have to use for the, because that sheet doesn't get wet.
That's true.
Right, right.
Yeah, the aluminum wrap, that's good.
No.
But in case if you are going in the
Yes,
car,
yeah.
keep enough supplies, like, warm couple of jackets, just in case,
Right,
so that
right.
you'll have extra clothing.
Yes, and
Most of
also
the
in
times,
terms of, yeah,
if
go
you're
ahead.
stuck,
Yeah.
the AC heater might not be as efficient as when it's running. Okay.
Right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
why you need to keep some extra layers and waterproof
Right.
clothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
The other thing is make
wanted to
sure that
add
when
the
you
car
travel,
pollution. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Pro.
so also when you travel and you're in your car, you make sure you have a lot of fuel. And the reason is
Fuel,
because
exactly. Yeah.
because you can actually run the car all night long at idle with the heater on, and you'll go
Right.
through about an eighth to a quarter tank of fuel. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
if it's a matter of keeping warm and being able to run the vehicle, and I've
Yeah.
done it where
Right.
I've run the car all night, and that's about how much fuel it will use.
That can happen a lot. Thank God we're not driving a Tesla, because if you're out of range, then you're not covered. But so it's okay to find if you're
They
out
depend
of
on a
fuel.
they depend on a Honda more like generator. That is a joke. Okay.
Right.
Use a Honda generator to recharge your Tesla.
Exactly. So I've seen my friends run into that situation, so it's not cool. So fuel is an absolute check before we start driving or plan our trip or whatever. Yeah.
So I tend to go
And
a
also
little
the car
extreme on
collision. I
preparedness.
personally have been in a car collision where completely had a blackout and had a whiplash injury, and my kids were in the car. So
Yeah,
and
it's your
then
fault, Preeti. It's your
it's
fault.
not.
You're attracting.
It's
You're
absolutely not
attracting
my
too many
fault.
people. Okay.
It's
You're
absolutely not
attracting
my
too many
fault. I
people.
was a victim in this case,
Okay.
but yeah. So what my point is, at that stage, you always have to have some kind of a medical ID, as I think it was mentioned already, on your phone. If you do have a medical ID, it can even trespass the PIN code.
Yeah.
You don't have to put your passcode to kind of they can actually retrieve your information, even if you're unconscious or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the phones have that medical ID app.
So any other questions, or you
be
guys
able to
ready
first
to
thing
wrap
is
this up? I
transport
mean, we
as
don't
well.
have to go.
Parents. So we always need to put somebody as
Oh,
we can. Yeah, I'm almost.
Preeti,
Yeah, I just feel like we just have
I
to
think
put
you were breaking
emergency
up. We
contacts.
lost connection.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Preeti,
Preeti,
we
we
signals
missed
didn't
the
bad.
hear
last
what you were
4 or
saying.
5 sentences of yours. You might want to
Okay,
repeat them.
this is a very important session, and I think we should have more of these sessions. This is very informative.
Thank you. Yeah. And Krishna, thanks for all the input from your side on the emergency prep. Krishna is a great resource for emergency prep as well, because he actually does a lot for the Oracle emergency operations. So he's a great resource.
Yeah, I just put a link in the chat box. Those living in the Bay Area, there is an academy called Emergency Search and Rescue Team. This is not only at the office level and at the residential level, but it is a city-wide and county-wise and state-wide rescue team. It is weekly. We have training, and you are going to do the aerial search, mountain rescue, all kinds of rescues. Like if there is any collapse of the big buildings, you will be part of the volunteer team. You get pressed into the operation, and it's two things. One is you learn a lot. That's what and also it's a little bit adventurous also. Hopefully, we don't press into those operations, but you learn a lot. You will understand how to rescue on the mountain area, and in the any big disasters happen city wise and state wise, and they give very good training. Only thing is it will cost you around $300 as personal. You need to buy certain things. That's the only cost on your side, $300 to $400. But I felt personally totally worth. You will be part of an amazing team of these guys, like adventurous guys who do all kinds of this risk taking and all these things. So it's a learning and adventurous, and at the same time you're helping the community. It's a very serious training. Okay, it's very serious training. You need to take some I think 30 kgs backpack up and down, like they will have like a training regularly on the uphill and downhill and all these things. So those who are interested, they can, I put the link in the, I think most of the other states and the counties also might have similar training, because it is a common problem everywhere, correct? So especially if you are living in the Canada, that is more rigorous. The mountain rescue, and that's very rigorous. And I have a friend from Seattle. He went through that. It's very rigorous, but it's totally worth.
Yeah, so search up Toronto area for you guys that are in Toronto. There should be community resources for emergency preparation, and I'm sure you guys will get a lot of more specific information to your particular area for that as well. And I don't have anything else. So if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer, or Krishna can answer. Otherwise, I think this was a really good session. I'm glad you guys were able to join. If you want to see more of these, maybe we can develop a question set, and that way we can talk more about specifics on different things, and maybe research together, because I don't have all the answers, of course. So.
Yeah, I think we are good. I think, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. There we go. Somehow.
Thank you, Prov, for setting up this. This is really important, Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It
So,
was
so,
really
so